Hey, we have a lot to talk about. Hey guys, what's up? It's imuRgency and welcome back to my channel. Hello, hi, how are you? How do we even start? Euphoria Season 2, Episode 2 was a lot. And by a lot, I just mean generally all over the place. And from the discourse in the comment section of my TikToks reacting to this episode, it seems like we have a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about, so let's just get into it, friends. And if you are new around here, you should definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on my post notifications so you never miss when I post. Leave a like on this video and follow me on my socials at imuRgency because I post a lot around the internet. But Euphoria Season 2 Episode 2. This episode picks up right after the events of last episode where Nate gets beat the up by Fez. And the episode starts off with Nate and his very small fan club of like Cassie, Maddy, I think McKay, all going to the hospital and checking Nate in. And might I add, this whole beginning scene was like a fever dream. So we're in the hospital, right? We have like Rue narrating over everything and we just see Nate's fantasies as he is like passed out and recovering from being beat up. We get to see him fantasizing about this whole life with Cassie, which is very strange because you like see him rationalizing like them getting together, getting married, having a kid, her being pregnant, and then weird scenes with his dad, which we're not going to talk about. And I feel like the most interesting part of this scene is that in this whole montage, we see a glimpse of Jules. When he's fantasizing about his like ideal reality and like the ideal people he wants to like end up with, like we see Jules, which is very interesting, especially when we talk about the ending of this episode. I just really don't know what to think of it because I feel like this episode really just takes the whole Nate and Cassie situation and elevates it even more. Because after Nate gets out, like him and Cassie are still chatting, like Cassie is head over heels. They're like going to hang out with each other. They're like texting all the time. They're having like breakdowns together. I'm like, ooh, Cassie, baby, Cassie. No, I don't think so. One of my friends actually made this point and I actually agree with it in that while Cassie is like a very shitty friend, and in this episode we find out that she's also a snitch, which first off, pick a struggle, Cassie. She also suffers from the plague of craving male validation without having the support systems in place to actually help her grow from that. Because anyone that she talks to about her like issues does not take her seriously and just laughs it off as a joke. Like specifically I'm talking about Maddy, because they show a scene with like Maddy and Cassie in a pool and Cassie's talking about, I'm going to be abstinent. I'm going to be like a monk and just reprioritize myself. And Maddy just goes,
I don't believe a word you're saying.
But before we get more into Cassie, let's jump over to Maddy. Because Maddy gets some real limelight this episode. I really do love all Maddy's scenes just because the energy, you know? I am curious though what the relevance is of the one scene where she's babysitting because I feel like they're building that up as foreshadowing of her like borrowing the clothes and like leaving the drawer open. Like, is that gonna come back to bite her or is that gonna contribute to the plot in some way? Because right now it just seems kind of random. Love seeing Maddy in the outfits though. And I feel like some of the important Maddy scenes this episode were for one when she was calling both Nate and Cassie and neither of them picked up. Like, do y'all think she knows? Do you think that she knows? Do you think she has like some kind of intuition? She's like, why is my bestie and my ex not responding to my calls when they normally both do? Like, do you think she's like on to something? I personally think that she's not quite there yet because I feel like that wouldn't be a lot to go off of considering that she wasn't suspicious before. But you know, Maddy could have like a third eye and like could just sense this stuff. And for the sake of the plot, I really hope that they don't like unveil the fact that Maddy knows and like have like that conflict too early on, because if anything, the scenes in this episode where we're seeing Maddy smack down on these girls who cross her in school, we already know that Cassie is going to be in for a rude awakening. Like I said in my prediction in episode 1, it could either be that or it could honestly be like crazy calm Maddy, where she like doesn't express a lot of emotion but is equally if not more terrifying, because Maddy has a lot of power in her hands. We're not talking about that enough. Like Maddy has a lot of power in her hands, especially when it comes to Nate Jacobs. She could quite honestly ruin the Jacobs family career whenever she wants. So really, she's just a ticking time bomb. But I feel like the most important Maddy scene this episode was when she was with Jules. I feel like this scene is so important because both Jules and Maddy have been like severely hurt by Nate Jacobs. And they're talking and Maddy's like, I think I'm going to get back with Nate. And Jules like, don't do it, girl, don't do it. And Maddy's like, oh, I can't help it. And Jules says this one line that really, it hit me a little, hit me a little too hard. She goes, I wish you could see yourself the way the rest of the world does. And like, So true. Literally so true. Like, who told you to say that? Who told you to say that? Because Maddy's a baddie. We already know this. But like most people in this world, we don't really get to see the full aspect of ourselves. Like, of course, like we can present to be confident and super like assured of ourselves, but like there's always that like internal dialogue that people don't see. And I really wish some growth on Maddy, because Nate made her do some terrible things. And like they even say in the show, I feel like they brought out the worst in each other. And Nate, honestly, we already know how I feel about Nate. Like, it's Nate Jacobs. But yeah, I feel like that was like a really important moment of this episode. Let's jump back on Cassie really quick, because we are not talking about how she's a snitch, because Nate's dad is currently on a conquest to figure out who beat up his son, and he goes to Cassie's house, and this just really makes it known, like, I get that Cassie had her ulterior motives, but like, Cassie, baby, bestie, how are you going to be a terrible friend and also a snitch? Like, how are you going to be both? Like, I know the Cassie stans are fighting for their lives right now. Like, it is a tough day to be a Cassie stan. But like, for real? Like, in episode 1, we can like excuse Cassie's actions a little bit because she's drunk. This is like a one-time thing, but this episode shows intention. Like, she likes this boy. She likes this boy to the point where they like go and hook up again. And like, Nate was treating her good. Nate was treating her real good. Like, was he treating Maddy that good? Because last I remember, he couldn't. Let me stop. I'm just gonna say, if you remember how Nate and Maddy's last like interactions went in the bedroom, I'm just gonna say that. And like, Cassie's trying to justify it by being like, oh, she'd never do it if like Maddy and Nate were still together. But like, she knows Maddy, like she's her best friend. She knows that Nate and Maddy are like an on again, off again couple. So like, if you've seen this before, now that they're off, how would you? You know, like, you know how this works. You know how this works. But you know, whatever. Now let's get on to Kat, because I feel like Kat finally had her time to shine this episode. Whatever she's in, I feel like she has some of the best scenes in this show, where like, she's in a perfect relationship on paper. Like, the guy loves her, treats her very well, but she is still not healed from her traumas in season 1. And honestly, I feel like she just is not like excited by him, because she's used to like really toxic and honestly kind of unhealthy environments and honestly kind of unhealthy relationships. So when she gets like something that is the opposite of that and something that's genuine, it's like boring, you know? She's like bored, she's like uninterested. She's just like not fulfilled. And I think that translates into the rest of her life, because she's just generally feeling kind of depressed and like not herself. And they have a really funny but also a really great scene, because all these different like girl boss self-help influencers all pop up and are like, you got it, girl, just like be yourself, like love yourself, and just really talks about how like toxic positivity and just like self-care and also like always being like your best self kind of rule the internet right now, and are pretty much all like the messaging that people have. So like, when they're not feeling their best, they kind of like feel guilty about not feeling good, because they're like, oh, I should be doing my best, I should be living my best life, whatever. And that was just a really fun scene to just see that depicted, because I feel like it was a really accurate representation of like a moment where you're like spiraling feels like, but like in real life. So kudos to that. And also shout out to Nikki Tutorials for getting that Euphoria cameo. Like, okay, creators getting into the entertainment space, I love y'all. Sorry, but yeah, shout out to her. And pivoting now on to Rue. Rue has officially found her new vice, and that is Elliott. And it's kind of seeming like I was right in my prediction that there's gonna be a love triangle, but I feel like not all characters involved know that there's a love triangle, because Rue is pretty much just using Elliott as a means to like have someone to do drugs with. But Elliott clearly has feelings for Rue, or at least it's implied and alluded to that he has feelings for Rue. And then like, Jules is like peeping all this and is currently in a relationship with Rue, but it's like keeping an eye out for Elliott, like, something's off here. Something's a little off. And then the next episode preview kind of just shows that the three of them are gonna like get into it in terms of just like meeting each other, and like Jules is gonna get suspicious, because at this point, like, she doesn't know that Rue's like doing like some heavy drugs like every single day, which is problematic, but we'll talk about that in episodes 3 breakdown. And also, happy news, Ollie returns. And if you didn't remember who that is basically Rue's sponsor. And it kind of seems like they're setting something up for like Rue's mom and Ollie, and that's kind of weird. Like, they had a whole scene where Rue's mom was like, oh, he's cute. And the faces that Zendaya made after that were just really representative of what I was feeling in that moment. Like, ew, stop, just stop, please. This episode, we also get an update on Fez and Lexi, because Lexi's sister stitches, so she feels bad and she goes to see her daddy Fez. The whole interaction that they have is just so awkward and nervous, like the nervous energy, living for it. Like, the way Fez is just sitting there, like, not a thought in his head except Lexi, and then just like Faye in the background. I love they're keeping her as a recurring character, because she is just so funny just existing. But then we have like a whole standoff scene where I'm like kind of nervous for Fez's safety, because like Nate's dad is like there, and like they're having a whole standoff moment, and I'm like, oh, please don't have my prediction be right. Please don't kill off Fez. But they're like hinting at it. They're really hinting at it. And I'm thinking, like, is this a red flag? Like, is this a continuous red flag that like Fez has a target on his back? Like, is he going to be the one to go this season? Like, I don't know. But I feel like whatever happens, I feel like Fez is going to definitely be involved with whoever, if anyone ends up croaking this season. Also, side note, like shout out to Ashtray because he always stays strapped. Like he's always there. He's always lying in wait. Like he brought his little pew pew from that cereal box. I'm like, ooh, all right. First the hammer, now the cereal box. All right, here we go, Ashtray. But now to wrap up, I kind of want to talk about the last scene in this episode. Really leaving us off on a cliffhanger here. Like a solid, juicy ending to this episode because like what? Like what? We see Nate and his dad finally get into a conversation. Like they're finally talking to each other, having an open conversation. And Nate's dad just asks like, why did he get beat up? Like what was the reason for Fez to beat up Nate? And the way that Nate just says it, he just straight up, matter of fact, like the one time I actually enjoyed hearing anything come out of Nate's mouth, he basically just exposes his dad, like letting him know like, I know that you hooked up with a high schooler. Like I know you hooked up with Jules and I know you recorded it. And basically kind of blackmails his dad being like, oh, this is your fault. And now you're gonna pay for it because the tapes are leaked. The tapes are out of my control. Like Maddy has the tapes. And his dad's reaction was priceless. Like his face, honestly gold. Like that was all I needed. First we get to see Nate get beat up and now we get to see Cal looking stupid as hell. Like really just loving it so far. But honestly, based on that reaction, I'm not sure where Nate lies in this situation. Like is he going to help his dad like recover it or like cover it up? Or is he going to sabotage his own father? Because either or, it's kind of a win for him. Like if he tries to help his dad, he knows that Maddy's probably going to pay because he knows that Maddy has the tapes and he's not really on the best terms with Maddy right now and his dad would probably go crazy on Maddy, which would tie up a loose end for him in his sadistic brain. And then if he didn't help his dad goes down and he pretty much just gets to get off scot-free and he doesn't think about that anymore. If I remember correctly, I don't think Nate's on any of those like tapes. But either way, I am excited to see what happens next. I really want to know what your thoughts are. What did you think about this episode and how are you feeling about this season so far? Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, those are all my thoughts for this week's episode of Euphoria, episode 2. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to the channel, again, hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. We are so close to 100K. We're on the road to 100K. I feel like we can do it. So if you are new, definitely hit that subscribe button to join the roommates. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like because that helps out the algorithm and this channel so much. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, pretty much all my social medias here at imuRgency. And other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been imuRgency and I will see you in the next video. Peace.